Decode provides innovation services to the medtech sector. My own background, I've spent almost 25 years in product development, the last 15 of which has been spent at the front end of innovation, sometimes the very front end of innovation, across all sectors, and I've worked in innovation in organizations all over the world. We deliver innovation through future-proof strategies, through working on differentiated offerings and non-routine processes, but everything we do goes back to vision. It all starts, as Hugh said, it starts with the vision. And when we start a project, we're either reaffirming the vision that's there, or we're formulating a new vision. And this is important because we all need a sort of fixed North Star to keep us on track. So I wanted to talk about how to find the vision of the future, and in particular one that's worth fighting for, one that is worth fighting for the promoter and also for those that come on board. And the one takeaway that I would like people to get from today is that while leadership, I believe, is the key to innovation success, vision is the key to leadership. And the takeaway is that vision can be formulated reliably. And it can be formulated reliably by people who are non-expert in innovation. And unless business leaders can lead and direct and manage and evaluate the progress of innovation people, then innovation will not serve business to its best possible outcome. So, the first thing is that no one can lead or innovate if they're backed into a corner. I'm not sure why that 1974 picture seemed topical recently. So the first thing you have to do is you need to find room to maneuver. You need to find your room to maneuver, somewhere between the real world and what's expected of you. And what you'll find is that between the two, you will also find the status quo. And I work with everything from SMEs right the way through to multinationals. And what I find is that whether it's an organization with distance control where people are obsessed with the corporate view, obsessed isn't the right word, rightly concerned about the corporate view, or whether it's an organization under local control, be it large or small, the status quo is very similar. Whether it's a corporate view or the industry view, there is an inertia that people have to deal with in innovation. What you have to decide is, when you look at the results that you're expected to deliver and the status quo, are you in unqualified agreement that those two can work together? Are you in a position of qualified acceptance, or are you in a less positive position? If you find yourself in this lucky position here, right, then you've no leadership gap from an innovation perspective, and all you have to do is channel the great leadership that you're getting yourself. If you find yourself in either of these two scenarios, you need to be maybe considering your options. But I would imagine that most people, certainly most people that I engage with, fall into this category. And in this category, people, yeah, they're happy enough to go along this, they buy the bigger picture, but there are some issues. There you've got an innovation leadership gap, but it's something that you can work on. And when you find yourself in that space, regardless of how rigid your organization is or how dominant the status quo is, the first thing you need to do as an individual who's looking to lead any form of change or any form of innovation initiative is you need to understand your vision of the situation. You need to understand what you think is going to happen coming down the line. After that, you can start talking about innovation strategy. What are you going to do about it? But the first thing you have to have is a realistic view of the world, how it works and how it's going to change. And the key to managing and leading innovation is taking a risk management approach. And the way to do that is some form of contingency planning. And whether your organization asks you to do this or not, as an individual, you need to have your mind in this space. So, contingency-based vision formulation starts with your best guess. Whatever's come out of your research, this is what you think the future is going to be. And however well researched that is, and however number of the horizons you look past, and I do a lot of work at the sort of 10, 15 year mark, and sometimes we struggle with 6 months with certain sectors. But whatever your view of the world is, it can always go left field. It can always end up being more aggressive than you think it's going to be. Or there's a chance that it will be more conservative. The status quo will stand their ground a little bit longer. So now you've got 3 particular contingencies to look at. What you need to do before you start analysing the information is you need to define what are the weak signals that will indicate which of these is more likely to come through. And you watch over time and you accumulate your evidence. And if you're lucky, you might be able to park one of them. That will reduce your load moving forward. And then eventually, you should have enough information to confirm the way that you believe is how you want to move forward. And then you park the others. You never shut anything down in innovation. You never know what's going to come down the line. You never know when an old idea is going to come back. But you do need to focus. So when you focus on the one that you decide to go ahead with, you have to understand the underlying patterns. Without understanding the underlying patterns, you're not going to know why. Okay? So once you recognize those patterns, the future does become clearer. And for me, the S-curve is the key to all vision in innovation and in strategy. It's your life cycle curve, it's the cumulative of the bell curve, it's your classic life cycle curve, and by all accounts, it seems to be accelerating in most sectors. And the key to progress is that progress is an evolutionary thing. It's not linear, it's a multi-generation progression punctuated by discontinuous jumps. And these discontinuous jumps are the key to disruption. This is what we call disruption. So in my world, there's only really 2 reasons to apply innovation to a situation. You're either trying to trigger or respond to an interruption or a disruption. So an interruption is where something comes along, interrupts your nice little business, raises the bar, makes the solution better, but it's playing by the old rules. A disruption is where what current solutions are made obsolete because the rules have completely changed. And we can quite accurately identify where an organization or a project or a team or a subset of an organization, which may be different to the overall organization, where they are on their life cycle curve. And if you are at this point in the life cycle curve, you are by definition disrupting. If you're in this space, you are either interrupting or being interrupted, but you're rolling over a cycle and you'll always get another shot at it. Your competitors raise the bar, you'll get them the next time. By the time you get to this space, the dynamics have shifted and you are no longer in control of the situation. You're only in control of your response to the situation. And fortunately, that transition from one paradigm to another is quite predictable. There's a lot of different dynamics going on and there's a lot of things we can know about what's happening there. And the current state and the future state can be quite well identified, broken down, measured, and documented. An example of that from the work that we do relates to innovation work in a medtech multinational. Medtech multinationals operate in a very regulated industry, and at this stage, most industries are very regulated. But if you're in a very regulated industry, if you're in a rigid organization, that's all the more reason for you to find your own room to maneuver. So the way we do that is we go from, unfortunately, ISO 13485 starts at phase 0. We go to a phase -1, which is the product innovation level, service process innovation. Phase -2, which is the portfolio, or phase -3, which is the big picture strategy piece. And that's really what we're talking about today. And in practice, with this organization, we looked at the different scenarios that they were following. We looked at the potential market responses. We looked at the activity in the patent database. We looked at their functionality. We identified that there was a very distinct disruption. There was a very distinct disruption due. We knew it was happening within 3 years. We were able, over a period of time, to narrow it down to a particular quarter. We used the classic shift from product platform to product-enabled service platform. the client was not in the product side, was in the product side of the business. They had no influence or visibility on service decisions. But this shift is has a well-known impact on the product business. So therefore, the next generation product performance characteristic were very predictable. So we could identify that it wasn't a product, it was a platform that was needed. They needed strong defendable IP. We could identify which functions they could sacrifice and which functions they need to enhance. We could identify new functions that they needed to bring on board. We could identify that the price had to quarter or more. And very few of the initiatives that they had underway could go even close to this, regardless of how well funded or how well backed it was. So we can be very specific about what the characteristics of this future requirements are. And the final question then is, what do you do with such a vision of the future? Well, it's more important than ever because we're in a post-authority era. Org charts have dotted lines. The next generation won't do what they're told. And without leadership is nothing without followers. So vision is the key. Vision leads to clarity. Clarity leads to decisiveness. So when you're making decisions, when you're trying to make better decisions, your biggest call of all is how far do you persist with the more controversial aspects of your situation. But this should be no different to any judgment call that's made in business. It should be based on your confidence in the vision, your appetite for risk, your knowledge of the organization, and your sense of timing. At no time should guesswork be a factor. So, to conclude, having a robust vision will not necessarily make you a better leader, but it will make you a more informed one. And that's sort of what we do. Thank you.